Hi, everybody. Thank you for joining us. My name's Adriana. I am the account manager here at Graphical Networks. And Jason is also going to be joining us as the director of customer support. And he'll be doing the demo for us today. And today our webinar is on fiber strand mapping made easy. So thanks again for being here.
Yeah, we're going to get started here in just 1 minute. I'm going to start pretty much right at 2. So I won't hold you guys. As was mentioned, this is me down here, Jason Sherman. So I've been here at Graphical Networks for a while, 13 years or so. So our product is network documentation. Outside plant is a big part of that. Hence the fiber strand mapping made easy. So we'll get into showing off the product here in a minute. So we'll go ahead and get started. But let me go down to my PowerPoint. We don't have a lot of PowerPoint slides, but basically the agenda overview, some polling questions, which I don't know. Someone's going to have to figure out how to turn those on. I don't know if I know what button to press, but I'll check. Demo of netTerrain. If there's any questions, you guys can start posting those in the, I think there's a question section in Teams or the chat. It doesn't really matter, I guess. And we'll go through those as best we can and then just sort of wrap things up. So as I mentioned, netTerrain software really for network documentation, inside plant, outside plant. So data centers, fiber cables, outside plant, fiber cables and strands, splicing, all that good stuff. Who we are. We've been around a while making the netTerrain product. netTerrain, there's some different flavors of netTerrain, but really primarily you're talking about doing data centers, wiring closets, that kind of documentation, and then outside plant, so fiber cables and strands. A lot of customers around the world that are using our software to document their networks. And if you have questions around that, happy to answer those too. So talk about netTerrain in action. I'm going to stop my share for a second. I just want to see if I can get to the polling questions. There they are, polls. Okay. Let's see if they load up. Sometimes I have troubles with this. So launch poll, launch instance poll. I think if I check mark this, oh no, there's a launch right here, sorry. All right, how do you document your fiber? It says you can choose more than one. So if you guys want to try to do that, let's see, hopefully that's popped up for you guys where you can actually do that polling question. Spreadsheets, Google Earth, Visio, others, and My Brain, or no documentation. I like that. I like My Brain though. We get a few of those every year. People are retiring. Everything's in one person's brain, and they are, like, hey, we need to get that documentation. So, all right. So that's the first one. Let me hit view results, see if there were some results here. Yeah. The big winner is usually spreadsheets, and it is Google Earth, Visio, other tools, and My Brain. Very good. Visio, I think, would be tough to do outside plant, especially. Maybe not. I don't know. The strands, I think, we get a little tough, but I'm sure some people can do it. Another poll, what are you most interested in seeing today? Let me hit launch on that one. Documenting fiber strands, making circuits, understanding my fiber plant, detailed visuals, simplifying capacity planning. We could do one or more of those as well. This is the last poll question, I believe, so. Sorry, you might hear me take a sip of my tea here. You can probably tell I'm a little under the weather here. So anyway, we'll close that out. I'll hit review results on that one. Yeah, fiber strands and circuits, and then understanding fiber plant. The last is simplifying capacity planning. So that's good stuff. All right, let's go share again. I'm going to go over to this guy here, and this is netTerrain. It's my demo project. You actually can get to this yourselves. I would do it right now while I'm doing my demo. But you can get to this. You can actually navigate our diagrams read-only. It all works. This is actually a report I guess I was running earlier. So let me go into the demo. So first and foremost, so netTerrain is very visual. You know, it's kind of meant to do as built, right? So you document your network like it is in your environment. You have a switch, put a switch in. You have a router, you put a router in. Manufacturer and model specifics, things like that. You know, if it's got cards, you use the cards. If you're doing splicing, you have a splice case with trays. I'll show you that. We're a hierarchy, so you start at a top level, high level, and then you double click, and then it drills down into the next sub diagram, so to speak. So like here, I just double clicked from my top level down. The hierarchy I'm showing you, you don't have to follow. We don't like force you into some hierarchy. It's really up to you. You know, some folks are like, well, I want to show a couple buildings. Some buildings might have floors and rooms, and other buildings might just be one piece of equipment. And you can do all that. It doesn't matter. You don't even have to have the building. You just throw a piece of equipment wherever it's sort of located. You'll notice that there is a map here. This is using OpenStreetMaps. I think this is OSM. I'm going to go to my map here. I'll change the source. Actually, that's Google. I could do satellite. I can zoom in and start to see satellite stuff. I don't really like that one. I kind of prefer the OSM, honestly. That's OpenStreetMaps. Double click, drill down, and then we get into campus environment here, right? This is University of Maryland. In fact, this is not their project. It's just something we use because we have a few alumni from there. I'll turn on my conduit just so you can kind of see a little more detail here as far as some pathways and such. So you'll see you got buildings, got a manhole, got conduit, might have multiple conduits. I have 4 conduits actually here. They're just on top of each other. Manhole you can jump down into and see splice cases. All this other stuff is like, you know, what you're connected to externally. So this splice case connects to a patch panel that's in a different drawing. So so on and so forth. Anyway, there's a fiber cable, has strands in it. So before I go too much further into kind of showing you existing, let me just show you sort of how you can just talk about links and fiber cables and strands a little bit. I'm just going to go down to my sandbox here. Let me delete this guy out of here. Now, I will say, I'm going to show you some manual stuff. You can bulk import data. You can pull data from Esri. We have integrations with things like ServiceNow and SolarWinds and other tools as well that might have data. And Excel is a big one for us, Excel import. You can certainly do that too. But on the right-hand side, you have a catalog, and I'll just grab a site object and drag it in. And you'll notice that this object on the left-hand side has a bunch of data fields. You can choose different data to populate. You'll notice I put a drop-down list here. So these are data fields that you control. You can add fields, take fields away. As a user, you have to be what we call power user and editor, power user and admin. But it's very flexible. You can add fields, take fields away. You don't need a DBA to do that. You don't need us to do that for you. We try and keep the tool where you can do what you want in the tool, right? So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to grab a couple patch panels. I'm going to go to my favorites list. Well, it's actually some categories I have. And I'm just going to bring in a patch panel just to kind of see how things work here. And I'm going to connect a patch panel to another patch panel. I'll copy and paste my patch panel here, so I have 2 of them, right? So in netTerrain, you have the ability to put links between objects. Links are over on the right-hand side. We have different link types. Link types are also controlled by you. So you can choose what link types you want to bring in. So what I probably should have done is added some buildings, but we'll do that later. But I'm just going to bring in a 12-strand fiber cable between these guys, just so you can kind of see how this works. I got to hit the little circle and a little circle here. There's other ways to do these connections. But I just want to show off a little 12-strand fiber cable between two patch panels. These patch panels could be anywhere. They could be in any building, any rack, doesn't matter. Wherever they are in the hierarchy, you can connect them together. But with us, when you have a cable that you create, like a 12-strand fiber cable, on the left-hand side, you're going to see it says strands, 12 dangling. I'm going to click on that, and that opens up the interface. And this is where you go in and start defining your strands, right? The thing with, like, and I'm not knocking Excel or Visio or things like that. You know, they're built to do certain things. And they do a good job. I mean, they're very good tools, obviously. But we're kind of built where if you're trying to do fiber cable, you're going to have a fiber cable. It's going to have strands associated with it. And those strands are things that you would connect. So in this case, it's showing you the 12-strand fiber cable. It's showing you the tube color, strand color, and then we have the interface that would open up the termination for the ports. Right now, this is basically showing me that these are gray, which means they are currently not connected. Now let me go back here and just click on that interface. So now I can go to strand 1 and choose what I connect it to, right? So strand 1 connects from port B1 to port B1. Those are the two patch panels that I created, basically in the same, and I can just do a whole bunch and close that out. But you'll notice here they're all green now on the left, so that means that they're connected. And if I actually go into this device, double click on it, we would see we have a little circle on the port. You can double up your strands to a port, but in this case I have a single strand connected to a port B1, and it is connected to the other side, which is the other patch panel, B1 as well. So I just wanted to share kind of how you can go through that process and what it means for us as far as a fiber cable and strands. Because you may also have, of course, conduit, where you're going to put in conduit between buildings. And those conduit, you can create relationships with, where you take that fiber cable and you bundle it. We call it bundling. It's basically creating a relationship. So if I look at a conduit like here, this conduit goes from this building to this manhole, and that's the conduit. And on the left-hand side, I can see different things about the conduit. I can see that there's 13 circuits traveling through this conduit. I can see that there's 7 bundled links in one container. 7 bundled links means that that's the relationship, the cables that are related to this conduit. So it allows you to see what fiber cables are in that section of conduit, right? Now, a fiber cable, if I click on one of these fiber cables, that fiber cable might, in fact, be related to multiple conduits, right? Because a fiber cable can, of course, traverse multiple conduits. So, so if we look at a fiber cable, in this case, this fiber cable, which is the one I came from, on the left-hand side, it shows me one container, which means that it only has one parent. So, excuse me one second. So if I click on other fiber cables, you might see, oh, this one has 2 containers, which means it's inside 2, in this case, conduits, or 3, right? And you can see what conduits the fiber cable's in. So you get this relationship back and forth. You can actually build a hierarchy of these relationships. So you might have a duct bank, then you might have conduits, and then you might have fiber cables. That's up to you. A lot of folks, they use just conduit and then fiber cables, and that's pretty much it. But the point is, you are going to be taking cables and terminate them. When you're talking about circuits, specifically circuits especially, circuits really need to be created from fiber cables, strands, and those strands are going to be terminated to a port. These are not terminated to these aren't using strands, but the patch panel that they're probably going through are. So as an example, if I jump down into this patch panel, we look at this guy here. These all have strands connecting to it. This is one side of the patch panel, and this is the other side of the patch panel. So what this is showing you is a card in a patch panel, and that card has a front and a back. And this is how we display typically patch panels. You always have a front and a back, and then a cross connect, so it traverses, the front to back. You can actually change that where you remove the front and back and just have the one port, but this is typically our default behavior. So anyway, the when you do have all these connections and things that happen, you can generate a physical path diagram. This is kind of a big one. This is actually showing you the hierarchy, which is from the top down. Shows you, in this case, the building, the floor, the Dell rack, the two pieces of equipment that we care about in this particular path, right? This particular piece of equipment has a card, and it has that card has ports, and that port is connected with a fiber jumper over to another port, which is part of this guy, which is inside this chassis, which connects to this port, which is the side out of the patch panel. And then you got another strand, and that strand goes out. So this is showing you hierarchy versus physical path, but you can turn this into what we refer to as a defined circuit. Come up here and you say create new circuit. And you would name it and turn it into a circuit. Well, what does that mean? What does turning it into a circuit mean? Pardon me for 1 second. Well, if we go over to our tools and we go circuits, show circuits. So a circuit for us is a defined path, end to end. It could be patch panel to patch panel, device to device, and it's going to consist of whatever connections you need to make up that path. So if I click on this button here, it's going to bring up the circuit for this particular circuit, which is named Brendan to wind tunnel. So there's the wind tunnel, there's Brendan, there's the two manholes that are involved in the circuit. Here are the strands, strand 1 and 2. Here's the actual fiber cable, and this shows you the circuit itself. I can look at that circuit at map level if it's a map level circuit, and then we can go, take a look at that as well. This one's really short. It's two buildings pretty much next to each other, but you can see the path that it's following. So circuits can be named. Circuits will remove strands from use. Once a strand is assigned to a circuit, that strand can no longer be used as part of another circuit. That's just how we do things. Our assumption is a strand is defined for a particular circuit. Circuits can be renamed. That list of circuits. Let me go back one more. We'll go back to the circuit list. You can sort these by name or by really whatever column is here. Every strand has a unique identifier that's system assigned, but then you assign it a name, so you can always change the name of the circuit. There's a comments field. You can actually add additional columns of data for the circuits. So if there's other data you need to capture about a circuit, you certainly can do that. So, I am going to stop talking for a second to see if there's any questions. But stop the share for a second. Let me just hit Q&A. I like to get a feeling. Oh, no questions yet. Maybe in the chat. Nope, those were just the responses to the vote. Okay. No questions. No worries. We go back to the share here. I think this is the guy here. All right. So yeah, when you define a circuit. Now you can also create a circuit at map level. So you can either, if you know you have a path you want to define as a circuit, you can generate that CLR, that physical path diagram, and turn it into a circuit. But you can also have the system sort of analyze the path for you. So you select, let's say, two buildings, you go circuit. I want to create a new circuit. Between these, I can click on the two hops, north or south, and decide which one I want to use. I can create either edge to edge or end to end. Edge to edge is basically like patch panel to patch panel. End to end is more like if you wanted to go down to like a switch or a router level as part of that circuit. That would give you a different interface so you can choose those. But edge to edge, usually it's looking for the two endpoints of your fiber cables, which would typically be patch panels. So I'll just call this demo 109. And I'll say use existing links. So if you do have links already, patches and stuff, we're not going to necessarily insert new patches. But if you don't, we can insert the patches. We say yes to this. Yeah. So this is actually correct at the top. There's a pathway. There's multiple pathways between this building and this manholes. We don't necessarily show it because there are so many. Because if you look at the fiber cable, there's actually 6 containers. So we'd show all 6 of those. They're not really, it doesn't necessarily answer a lot of questions. It's better to go look at the containers here. But anyway, if we look at this circuit we created, right? This was from McKeldin to the admin building. Pretty straightforward. We can go back, like if you want to add something to this, if you're like, I want a redundant circuit, you can add to the existing circuit. So you can come in here and say, you know what, I want to see between these 2 buildings, I want to see what circuits exist. So I already have 2 circuits, but this one, I'd like to go ahead and add redundant to it. And if there's a redundant path I can use, I can go ahead and do that and then go through the process of creating that. And then what happens is both of those circuits are technically associated with the same circuit name. It's just that you have 2 that give you redundancy. So if you need to follow a different path, you can certainly do that. So anyway, so there's a lot of information when you are looking at circuits and fiber cables and conduits and all those things I mentioned. You know, you can see a list of all the circuits that a particular, let's say, conduit is associated with, because the conduit has fiber cable in it, bundled, and then you can see a list of these are all the circuits. So you know right away, you know, obviously, you know, you have capacity things you can figure out from there, but also if there's an outage, heaven forbid, you know, something happens to the conduit, you'll be able to see kind of what's going on. So if you look at something like manholes, you can do different reports, where a manhole report, it's basically showing me everything in the manhole. Right? Shows me all the fiber cable passing through the manhole, all the conduit associated with that manhole, all the devices and that sort of thing. So it gives you a nice overview. There's a strands report. I don't have this one set up. Sorry. I have a few strand reports, but I don't have them all associated. So I may have that one up here, though. Give me 1 second. Let me see if this one's working.
And Jason, we do have a few questions in the Q&A.
Oh, good. Great. This one may take a second. So, oh, there it comes. So this is strand report. This shows you the cable name, cable type, the strand name, and then where it starts and ends. So it tells you, oh, here's a piece of strand. Here is a strand. Here's the cable it's associated with. Here's where it's connected. So you can actually see what's connected and what's not. From a capacity standpoint, I mean, this is helpful, but you can also do calculations where it gives you a percentage of how many strands are used or not used and that kind of thing. So anyway, let me go back to the questions here, Q&A. If you select the manhole, can you attach multiple actual pictures of the manhole with all conduits and available introducts? You can. So one of the things in netTerrain is you can right-click and upload an image. So you can do a background image, which becomes the background for the diagram. But you can also upload a picture, and that becomes a picture of whatever it is you want to put in the manhole or for the building or whatever it is you're doing. I do a lot of pictures with wiring closets and things like that. I'll show you an example. So if we go back to the project, I think the manhole actually had something in it, so we'll just navigate down there. By the way, I typically navigate by double-clicking stuff, and I totally double-clicked the wrong thing here. This is going to time out. Sorry, I did the DCM console, which I didn't mean to. So let me go back here. So if we go to the manhole, this may be the wrong manhole. No, this is good. So this has a picture. I can move that around and resize it. You can have as many of those as you want. We actually don't license for images as far as like free draw objects. So I hope that's helpful as far as, things you want to add to a drawing. And it could be any drawing. It doesn't have to be just, manholes, that sort of thing. Moving on, manufacturer list for patch panels, racks. We can send you one. We have about 650 or 700 manufacturers now. If you're a customer, you can request missing devices. So if you're using a manufacturer we don't have, or we don't have that model, you can request it. You go to the Zendesk portal and say, hey, I need this. We try and turn those around next day. Obviously, if you request like 100 different devices, probably won't be able to do that in a day, but ones and twos, we typically get those done next business day, right? If you request it on Friday, you're not going to have it Saturday, but we're pretty good about that. You can actually create things yourself. We do not keep you from doing it yourself in our tool. You can create your own devices. It's not hard. There's documentation. You take a class. So it's a good question, though. I'd say, 50-50. I get probably half the customers probably request devices. It might even be higher than that now. So good question. I don't see any other questions. Let me just go to chat. Just make sure nobody chatted me up here. Yep, I don't see anything. If there's anything else, let us know. I would say, oh, wait. I think I missed a couple.
Yeah, we got a couple of new questions.
So can you identify a fault location? Not exactly. So what I mean by that here, I'll show you. You can track distance from something, but we're not integrated with like an OTDR reader. Like I can do a measurement. Like I can put my mouse somewhere and go, okay, well, where am I at as far as the link here measure. And it'll show you kind of the distance you can hover, and it'll give it to you in meters and stuff. But it's not gonna. You can't query it and say, hey, where is this breakpoint based on the OTDR? It's a good question. So, Sumitomo air balloon. Yeah, we have a few customers that do the Sumitomo. So what you do there, let's see, it says Sumitomo air balloon fiber tube, microducts. Yeah. So what we do there is we typically create different object types. Like we'll create a microduct object type that becomes kind of a conduit transport. You're going to blow fiber in, so you're going to have fiber cable with strands, 144, 24s, whatever their counts are. I don't remember off the top of my head. And those are all going to terminate to the Sumitomo boxes and things like that. So you can do it. I have some customers who've done it, doing the Sumitomo. What's nice about them is usually it's direct fiber. You're not doing splicing in between. It's just, hey, patch panel to patch panel. And makes things a little easier, I think, or at least that's my experience. Can you attach multiple pictures? We did that one. Manufacturer lists. Yeah, I think I got everybody. So cool. There. Well, I appreciate everybody's time. We'll have a video out at some point of this if you want to relive the experience here. And of course, if you have questions, reach out to Adriana. Or sales, if you can't remember Adriana's email address, adriana.lauren. And
Yep. And Tim Kim is here too. He's actually our sales guy. So I'll drop his email in the chat. And we do have a, hey Tim, free trial as well, so that you can sign up for, which I also just dropped in the chat there.
Yeah, I think I'll also put it on the screen. So tim.kim@graphicalnetworks.com. And then the free trial is netterrain.us. You don't need a credit card, so on and so forth. And we have just side note, we have a user conference coming up in October. So if you, I think you can attend whether you're a customer or not. But
Yeah,
You'd have to
absolutely.
reach out to sales for that one. But we're going to do a lot of training and a lot of certifications at those at the user conference. So anyway, thanks everybody again for your time. Any questions, reach out. Appreciate it. Take care.
Thanks, everybody. Have a good one.